Super Rugby round 4. There's 5 games on the Saturday, 3 teams on the bye this week, so just the 1 game on the Friday, 5 on the Saturday, like I said. It's an interesting one because there's not really any huge disparity in the teams that are facing each other. Kind of 2 teams towards the bottom, 2 teams towards the top, towards the bottom, towards the top. I guess maybe the Sharks Rebels one, but I guess it's just an indication of how early we are in the season that there's not been that many games played. But yeah, should be some interesting games. The first one is the Rebels hosting the Sharks. Yeah, the Rebels need a win, hey. Pretty lackluster first couple of rounds. Managed to beat a pretty poor Waratahs team last week. But their injury woes don't kind of help them out. Reece Hodge is out, Matt Tamua's out. So you got Andrew Deegan starting at 10. I think is that his first start for the Rebels? Misa comes in at hooker. Jermaine Ainsley gets a start or tight head. Otherwise, it's pretty much the same team. Andrew Callaway's up from the bench onto the right wing. But yeah, for the most part, it's a pretty similar lineup. Magnay and Meeks are the midfield, so Tom English is on the bench. Essentially covering most of the back line. So yeah, they're definitely not favoured to get much done in this one because, as I said, they've been pretty ordinary thus far this season, which is a bit of a difference from their usual kind of quick out of the blocks but not able to maintain it throughout the season, which we've kind of come to expect. Sharks, on the other hand, are definitely a team that you've kind of got that good feeling about. They may have lost last week, but they still seem like a team tracking in the right direction. Good for them. They've got Kerwin and Bosch back, so that's an even maybe another argument as to why the Sharks should go into this one as favourites, because you got Deegan, who's not, I don't think, started at 10 for the Rebels before, and then you got Bosch, who was kind of swapping with Dupree last year, but kind of made the 10 jersey his own. I mean, they looked better when he was playing 10, and they've looked pretty good with him in that jersey. This year, he's been doing a bit of travel. He had to go back to South Africa, I believe, for a family grievance, but he's back with the squad now. So that's only good news for Sharks fans. Nohamba also starts at 9. It's his first start with the Sharks. He played a bit of 10 last week, but that's exciting news to see that guy finally getting a start. So Schrader is on the bench. Ward comes in to 13. There's no Lakanyo for this one. Esterhazen captain at 12 in absence. Otherwise, I think the Ox gets a start at loosehead, but it's pretty much the same team that played last week. Fusty looked really dangerous. I expect to see kind of more of the same, but he's up against Taylor Petty if he's able to mark him, who defensively is one of the better fullbacks around. So, yeah, that should be a really interesting one. The Rebels 1 win, 2 losses. The Sharks 2 wins, 1 loss. Sharks, as I mentioned, are favourites. Rugby Forecast algorithm has got the Sharks by 2 points. The bookies have got the Sharks by 5 points. So despite the fact that they are away from home, they go into this one as favourites. Mvovo is on the bench for this one. So see if he gets any minutes. Haven't seen him play, I don't think at all this season. So, yeah, rotating the squad around a little bit. The next one, which is the Chiefs against the Brumbies. The Brumbies don't go into this one given much of a chance. The Chiefs, with that 3-game winning record, including a win over the reigning champion Crusaders, albeit at home in Hamilton. They've been the hot ticket item of Super Rugby thus far. The Warren Gatland effect, maybe. Having Damian McKenzie back fit, maybe. Having Aaron Cruden back. All these things probably are all factors, and they all kind of mix together to mean the Chiefs this year are looking like a pretty strong team. They travelled to Japan last week, so they have had that travel factor, but they did rest some of their big guns for that one as well, so they should go in pretty fresh. They've made a fair few changes. And the Brumbies in their build-up haven't been helped by the fact that the mumps virus has kind of been doing the rounds with the squad. I've got a squad here which I believe is the current one, although there was some guys marked down to begin and miss the game due to the mumps, like Ira Simone was supposed to miss it, but he's been named. Like the last update I saw from the Brumbies page was that he is going to play, so he must have made a recovery from the mumps. But yeah, that's not what you want in a build-up to a game against one of the Super Rugby favourites away from home, is a virus doing the rounds of your team. But Anyway, D-Mac is still there at 15. Wainui's on the right wing. Sam McNichols on the left wing. ALB is back at 13. Tahuriorangi starts at 9 this week. So, there's no Brad Weber. Soakula's back at 8. Kane is back at 7. Jacobson's at 6, which is good news to see him there. Cruden's at 10. So, it's Mitch Brown gets a start from the bench. So, it's a relatively change. Like, of all the lineups this week, it seems like most of the coaches are kind of going steady as she goes. Maybe a few injury replacement kind of changes, but not really kind of rotation, technical changes. But the Chiefs are kind of one of the bigger exceptions. There's like Tupaya's on the bench. Trask, who started last week's on the bench. So we'll see how they go. Tokiaho is still interestingly on the bench. So it is Slater who gets a start in the 2 jersey for the Brumbies. Like I said, I believe this is the up-to-date squad, but we'll see. McInerney starts this week, so there's no Folau Fainga after his hat-trick efforts from last week. Like I mentioned, Simone is starting at 12. Muirhead moves to number 11 from the bench. Otherwise, though, the squad, assuming it is the right one, seems fairly stable from the one that played last week. Interestingly, Tony Pulu is on the bench, so he'll get a run up against his former Chiefs teammates. But like I mentioned, the Chiefs are huge favourites. 11 points according to Rugby Forecast and 15 points according to the bookies. So, really predicted to go and do a job. You would imagine if the Brumbies can get their maul going, they will be competitive. If the Chiefs are able to shut that down, I'm not saying the Brumbies are a one-trick pony, but that's a massive part of their game. If the Chiefs can shut that down and then hit them with those exciting players they've got, it could be a long night for the Brumbies. We will see. The next one, Reds up against Sunwolves. The Reds are none from 3. They've got their trip out of the way early. They've been to Argentina. They've been to South Africa. It's all going to be, apart from the away game to the Sunwolves, it's all going to be around Australia and New Zealand for the rest of the comp for them. So, at none and 3, it's time to get the season off to a start come round 4. The Sunwolves would seem to be the best team that you could be facing in terms of the prospect of a potential easy win. They're coming on the back a bit of a big defeat to the Chiefs, but it's really kind of hard to put that into context. Remember, the Sunwolves did win in round 1 and they had the bye in round 2, so it's still kind of mixed as to where they're at. Are they a 50-50 team like they are at the moment? Probably not. Are the Reds big favourites? They definitely are. But I don't know. This one still has a slight feeling about a banana skin about it. What you do like about the Reds, though, is the fact that those first 2 games that they lost, they were very competitive. And that last game against the Jaguares, for half of the game, they were dominating. So, although the Reds haven't got a win, they feel like they're not that far away from actually really finally kind of stepping up, and it's probably about time they did, because Brad Thorne's been in charge for as long as he has. But maybe I'm being deceived by the results, but I feel like they're not too far away. So in theory, they should be able to go and do a job on the Sunwolves team. They haven't really changed things up at all. It's still JP Smith, Mafi, Tupou front row, Rodder, Blythe second row, Salakai Loto right, Harry Wilson back row, McDermott, O'Connor. I don't see any changes there to that starting 15 at all, if I'm not mistaken. The bad news for them is that, what's that young guy? His name's just totally gone from my mind. But their 18, 19-year-old centre come winger is out for the season again. God, his face is right there. You'll tell me in the comments. I appreciate that. But, he's injured and out for the season. So that guy cannot catch a break. I think he's played like 4 Super Rugby games in 2 years and like 3 for the Wallabies. Or was it 3 Super Rugby games? Really, really terrible news for that guy. Not that I can remember his name, but I swear as soon as I stop the video, it'll come to me. Some Wolves have put Jordan Jackson Hope to get a start this week at 15. They were playing Dargaville there, but he's moved to the left wing. Mitch Jacobson moves from 6 to 7. Yoshida gets his first start of the year for the Sunwolves. Corey Thomas, I'm not sure I even know who he is, but he's playing lock, so hopefully he's pretty decent. That's not about him, that's about me not knowing enough of the Sunwolves players. But otherwise the squad, Engelbrecht's up from the bench to play outside centre. the team is relatively stable. You've still got Garth April there at 10. Saito, who's been pretty impressive at 9. Jake Schatz is still captain at 8. So former Reds man, that'll be interesting to see him go back into Brisbane. Maybe a little bit of extra reason for him to want to play well. Like I said, the Reds are heavy favourites. 14 points according to Rugby Forecast algorithm and 15 points according to the bookies. So well favoured to get the job done. Still trying to think of that guy's name. Jordan Pataya. There you go. Stormers up against the Jaguares. Now this is an important game because number 1 and 2 in the South African Conference, I think prior to season start, the favourite for the South African Conference and the second favourite, that's an important game. Stormers are one of the only teams to remain unbeaten thus far. 3 wins from 3. 2 games they didn't have any points conceded, but they have finally conceded some points now. So yeah, I didn't get to see last week's game in full, but by all accounts, they were kind of lucky. I mean, I watched it as I was watching another game at the same time, but they certainly left it late to win that game against the Lions. So I guess that says something about the mental kind of attitude of the players. They're not going to give up. They'll keep fighting, which is definitely a good thing. But the fact that they took to that last minute to win that game against the Lions, and although they kept the Bulls scoreless, that game I don't think was a pretty one by Stormers' account. So the record is perfect, but I don't think the gameplay thus far has been up to the standard that maybe the record indicates. I guess this will be a good test to see if that's true or not. The Jaguares, they're a bit of a mixed bag at the moment as well. Certainly in that second half, they tore the Reds to bits, but second half. But that first half, they were really poor, really well off the game, and they let the foot off the gas against the Hurricanes, which you feel like against the Stormers in Cape Town, you cannot afford to do that whatsoever. Look what happened to the Lions last week. If they go in there with that kind of same attitude this week, I think the Stormers will definitely cause them some problems. Stormers, good news, the Herschel Yankees is back at 9, Jaco Kutsia is back at 6. Those guys were impressive for the first couple of rounds. Malherbe gets a start from the bench, and Schickerling gets a start from the bench. Otherwise, the side is pretty stable from the one that played the week before. You feel like Jamie Roberts kind of hasn't quite hit his top form yet. So I think it's time for him to kind of have a bit of a big game up to, I guess, match the reputation. But he is still fairly new to the team, so I guess it's going to take a little while to bed in. The Jaguares have moved Boffelli to fullback. Cancellieri comes on the left wing. Chocobares, he's up from the bench into the 13 jersey, and Malia. So it's a relatively inexperienced midfield up against Jamie Roberts, who's, if nothing else, very experienced, although not at Super Rugby. Ruanel, last week's try scorers at 13 for the Stormers as well. So the midfield battle, I guess, is one the Stormers will look to dominate. Kobeli is back at the starting lineup at 9. He is captain. Lizana moves to the 7 jersey. Gorison is back in the squad. Alemano gets a start, not like last week where he was on the bench. Medrano is back. Titis Chaparro is back. Socino starts. So Montoya, last week's hat-trick man, is on the bench. But remember, Socino got a try as well. So again, kind of like the Brumbies, the Jaguares maul has looked phenomenal. So that's definitely going to be an area for the Stormers to look out for. But at home, you'd think they're going to go in as favourites. Oh, I should mention Bonizio is back on the bench, so it's good to see him back, although Miotti is the guy getting the start. You'd think the Jaguares are the favourites. The bookies certainly have... No, the Stormers the favourites. The bookies certainly have the Stormers as the favourites. They're saying by 7, but Rugby Forecast algorithm sees something in the Jaguares saying Jaguares by 1, which is interesting. Like the Jaguares recently have kind of got the knack of touring Australia and New Zealand very successfully, but I don't feel like they're there with South Africa. I don't remember them having a really good run in South Africa, so we'll see if they can turn things around in that regard this time. Last one is the Bulls against the Blues. My Blues are travelling to South Africa. They've left Akira Ioane at home, but they've still got Satutu in the squad. Rico has recovered from injury to go travelling along with the rest of the squad. The Bulls have been off the bye. So on paper, this would seem like a perfect opportunity. Blues have just been hammered by the Crusaders. They've got to travel. They've got to play at altitude. The Bulls have just been relaxing, training, whatever they've been doing on the bye. So it's certainly a good opportunity for them to put a tired, potentially, Blues team away. But that being said, you kind of feel like after playing the Crusaders, every other game, apart from maybe the Chiefs, is going to be slightly easier. So we'll see which one of these kind of bits of logic rings more true at the end of it. The Bulls lineup, Gaboka, Visaki, and Inyakane is the front row. They're up against Tuinukuafe, Parsons, and Mafaleo. I think both those front rows look pretty good, so the scrum battle could actually be a pretty good one. Kriya and Ferreira is the second row for the Bulls. Jacob Pearce gets his first start for the Blues, and Tuipulotu is captain for the Blues in that second row. Ordendale's captain 12, Kotza's there at 13, Hendricks, Mornay Staines playing, Open Van Sale, Galant's there. Interestingly for the Blues though, like they've put Plummer at 12, they've put Otere Black, who's back fit, at 10, and Perofeta at 15. So essentially they're playing 3 first fives, or 3 fly halves in this team. Ooh, hold on a second, the phone's ringing. I think that was Leon McDonald calling to ask me what I think about his decision to play 3 10s. It's an interesting one. They're certainly going to have no lack of guys who can kick the ball, but whether they can kick it at the sticks or not remains another question. Like up against Mornay Stain, who traditionally in rugby history has been one of the most consistent goal kickers there has ever been. So, yeah, don't expect the Blues to be able to win the game with the boot. Likely they will have to go and score some tries. Narawa gets a start on the wing this week. Lambourne is up from the bench, and he's been impressive this season. Robinson's also up from the bench, so it's a few changes for the Blues in that regard. So, but I mean, with the likes of Speckman, Hendricks, the Bulls are not exactly lacking for talented guys who can score tries as well. The Bulls are the favourites by Rugby Forecast. The algorithm 4 points, and the bookies have got the Bulls by 1. So the Blues go into this one as underdogs. That's it. Those are the 5 games for Super Rugby this Saturday. You guys let me know your thoughts on these ones. Do you think the bookies and the algorithm have got them right for the most part? Like I said, that Stormers Jaguares one is the only one that there's a bit of a difference. All the other ones have a clear favourite. But yeah, do you see any potential upsets? Can the Blues get the job done in South Africa? Can the Sunwolves upset the Reds in Brisbane? Will the Stormers kind of put together a full package result? We will see. Drop us a like if you enjoyed the video. It always helps out the channel. I appreciate that. And yeah, I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.